What is up, guys? Manny from Vegan Rock Climbing here. Welcome back to the channel. Today coming at you with another training episode about intermediate exercises on the Campusboard. And as you guys probably already know, the Campusboard can be an injury generator when we don't use it in the right way. And part of that means that we are warmed up really thoroughly, and that's why I get a little stretch in here, rotate my arms a little bit. And since this is climbing specific training, we also want to get a lot of climbing moves in before we actually start, to activate every single muscle in the forearms and in the upper body to reduce the chance of injury. And another thing you can do to get used to your device a little bit is use your Campusboard as a little hangboard. Just hang the rungs a little bit in different constellations to get the whole shape into your fingers. And as you should already know, we never use the full crimp on the Campusboard, always go with the 4 fingers open or the half crimp, doing some pull-ups here, just to get my upper body warm as well. And then you can already start with some minor overreaching to get used to the dynamic forces on the Campusboard. If you're not familiar with all these tips, please be sure to check out my Campusboarding for Beginners video. Keep in mind that you should be able to perform the moves of the following exercises in a controlled fashion. Otherwise, the training makes no sense and just increases your chance of injury. Alright, enough fooling around, let's start with the actual training. The first exercise that I want to show you are these max range repeaters. And what you basically do is you're going with one hand onto your max range rung, going back to your starting rung and go up with the other hand. And as you can see, this is a really dynamic exercise here. It's very important that you can do it in a controlled fashion, that you don't fall into your straight arms to protect your elbows and shoulders. And if you do it like that, this exercise can be really beneficial for your dynamic power, as you can see here, and also your contact strength, because you have to grip the max range rung at full speed every time here. I always try to perform as many repeats as I can, and when I notice that I'm getting weaker, I simply reduce the distance to one rung below max range. So here you can adjust the difficulty a little bit so that you don't hurt yourself even though you're already a little bit weaker. Let's move on to the second exercise, the max range bumpers, as I like to call them. And what you basically do here is you start again at your starting rung and then go up one rung at a time with one hand. And once you reach your max range, be sure to bump up and down between the max rung and the rung below it. As you can imagine, this exhausts the hands really quickly. It's really effective for contact strength in the upper hand and blocking power in the lower hand. I always try to perform as many bumps as I can until I drop off. And when I notice that I'm getting weaker, I simply reduce the distance again. And to achieve that, you can simply stop at one rung before max range when you're going up for the first time with your upper hand. Or another possibility would be to bump down twice and only bump up once. And then you have reduced your distance easily. You can also use such patterns to get a little bit of variety into the exercise, to not always bump up and down on the max range. I like to do that because I have the feeling that I get the most effect out of the exercise. Let's move on to the third exercise, the Lockoffs. What you basically have to do here is you're going to your max range, or at least one rung below that, I would say, and try to lock this rung off as much as you can to overreach with the other hand as far as you can. And as you can see, I'm using my lower hand here as well to get some sort of pushing force here into my lock-off so that I'm reaching even further. So here you have an exercise which is very challenging for your lock-off power, and please keep in mind that it's a very asymmetric one, just like the max range bumpers from before. That means you have to switch hands in order to get an even training stimulus in. Moving on to the fourth and final exercise, advanced overreaching, and that's a personal favorite of mine because it incorporates so many body parts and so many skills in just a few moves. The simple goal is to achieve the greatest possible distance in the least amount of moves. You're gonna need dynamics, you're gonna need lock-off power, and of course contact strength to pull these moves off. My personal best at the moment is the 147, I made a whole other video demonstrating a complete training guide for advanced overreaching, so if you're interested in that, check that out. I think it's called Campusboard Progression. And until then guys, have fun training! Post-workout gains, vegan, keep making those vegan rock climbing post-workout gains.
Alles, ja? 26, 57.
Oh yeah, there we go.